cooperative writing, and to make my book better, I have found Ernest Hemingway tea. It's infused with the author's spirit and passion for life, so obviously my book is going to be awesome now that I'm drinking the spirit of Ernest Hemingway. Honey! My spirit of Ernest Hemingway is too hot!
Just leave it alone for a few minutes, hon.
Okay, so we are going to try this again. Honey!
Yes?
My spirit of Ernest Hemingway is too cold!
Damn it, pal.
So I want to tell you guys a story about me at the library and how it actually went down. So I walked into the library and the librarian was all like, "Hi, welcome to the library." And then she started scanning my book.
Miss Van Hilton, are you aware that your library books are overdue?
And I was standing there, you know, you get that feeling of dread because you know that your library books are like overdue by like 45 days or 70 or in the most dramatic time 80 days overdue, and you owe like $150 and you're going to pay it online, but then you get there and the box is closed because the librarian is on duty and she wants to be really involved with her patrons, which is awesome, unless you have 17 or so, 20 books that are overdue by like 80 days and you owe her $150. And you couldn't pay the $150 because you have to bring the books back first. And after you bring the books back in, sometimes you can drop them off and then they'll check them in without you standing there. And then you come home and you go online and you give all your book money to the library because your books were overdue. But no, this librarian was involved. So she had my books and she did what you just saw. And so I'm standing there and you feel like the biggest ass on the earth. But then you realize, like, that's $150. They can totally buy some books with that. So maybe what I did wasn't so bad. But then you remember that look on her face, like you're the worst library patron ever. The worst library patron ever. And I totally get that. I get that I am an unreliable person. So I have this irrational, or maybe it is rational, fear of the library and librarians. Every time I go to the library, I find a book, and then I find another book, and then I have like 15 books, and you know I'm only going to read the first book that I went to get. But I check them all out anyway, because they have this really cool machine, and I get to pretend like I'm a librarian. So I scan my card, and then I scan my books, and I put it on the thing, and it goes clunk to, you know, take the whatever off to make sure you don't steal the book. So I get to do that for like 15 whole books, and for a second I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm a librarian. Your books are overdue. But anyway, so then you take them home, and then you forget that you have them because your library shelf is behind and not with your regular shelves. So then you forget that you even have the library books. And then you get an email saying, your books are overdue, and you're like, oh crap, I need to take my books back. And then you forget about the email because you're really good with your inbox, right? And you delete all the stuff. So 80 days later, you take your books back. And so I have this irrational fear of late books because I always have late books. Then I have this irrational fear of actually reading the library book. What if I bend the spine or drop it in the bathtub? Because I read in the bathtub. Like most of my reading is done in the bathtub with tea and biscuits. And I realize that most people probably don't do a majority of their reading in the bathtub with teas and biscuits. But that's you know, I do. So then I'm afraid I'm going to get biscuit cream or chocolate or spaghetti or tea on the library book or drop it into the water. And then as soon as it hits the water, the pages blow up like exponentially. They start growing until the library book is 3 times the size and you have to take it back. And what if the box is closed and you can't sneak that one back in? Then I have the irrational fear of being inside the library at all because A, there are germs in the library. You always see snotty children that are not mine. My snotty children are snotty beside me, but then you see all the other snotty children and they're not your snotty children. So while I'm wiping the snot off my children, I'm like, oh, look at all the snotty children, and vice versa with the other parents probably. So there's germs and snotty children. And then there is, you know, the classical librarian, which you don't see anymore. It never actually happens anymore. But I'm afraid like my cell phone's going to ring and then you get the shh. You know, the really violent one. You wonder how the librarian can go shh so hard without her head imploding or having an aneurysm or something else. And then I get really scared of the library because besides all of that, now they have like ebooks and audiobooks and I don't have enough time for what's on my shelf. And what if I get in this habit of getting ebooks from the library and audiobooks from the library and dumping library books into the bath and getting spaghetti on them and taking my snotty children in to bug all the other people in the library, and then it becomes a Pam doesn't go to the library situation. But this is very bad because Pam's fears are irrational, and Pam loves talking about herself in the third person, so just go with me on this. Pam's fears are irrational, and Pam is not supporting her local library the way she should. And the reasons for that, as you see, are serious and silly and totally incredibly insane. But they still keep me from going to my library, which is bad, especially since in Oakland they closed all the libraries. And my library is here. The branch hours, like one time I went to the library recently, and I was like, dude, I'm going to the library. Look at me being a patron. Oh, yeah. But then I get there, and now it's closed on Fridays. So I drive to the other library on Monday. I'm like, okay, this one's all closed. And then that one's closed on Mondays. So now, since there's a new schedule, and I'm not used to the new schedule, I'm like, I don't even know when to drive to the library. So then I just sit on my ass at home and read my books and eat chocolate and get crumbs all over myself. And that's not being a good patron either. So what I want to say within all of this rambling stuff is that I think that I could be a better library patron. I think that I could support librarians and my local branches more than I do. So I'm going to try to do that. And I want you, and yes, I'm saying that you have to do this because obviously my word is law. I want you to look at the way that you use the library and see if you can improve on that as well. And if you can't, if you're the perfect patron, tell us what we can do in the comments to be more like you.
I'm not scared of the library because I'm a kid and the librarians are like nice to kids instead of moms and dads. You know?